Hi everyone, for this week's video, I wanted to discuss the two most common contingencies in a real estate transaction, what it means to waive these contingencies, and what the implications are for both buyers and sellers. So we'll start with the mortgage contingency, which also includes the appraisal. So if you are a buyer who is 100% confident that you're going to get approved for a mortgage, you could waive the mortgage contingency completely, which basically means that you're telling the seller, if I don't get the mortgage, I am still going to proceed with the purchase and pay cash. So this is just for somebody who is 100% confident that they're going to get the loan. So maybe somebody who's already been fully pre-approved or fully approved rather, or that they already have a mortgage commitment. More common is waiving the appraisal. So if you're waiving the appraisal, that means that you are saying if the house appraises for less than the offer price, you're willing to come up with a difference between the appraisal value and the offer price. So you could waive the appraisal completely. You could waive a portion. You could say that as long as the house appraises for X amount, I'm willing to move forward, or I'm willing to waive $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, whatever it is. There's different ways to word it if you're not completely comfortable with waiving the appraisal completely. Most likely a seller is going to ask you to provide proof of funds to show that you do have extra funds available to cover an appraisal waiver if that was to come up. Some buyers ask, does this mean that it puts me at risk for overpaying for a home? Yes, in this market, you could be overpaying for a home, but that's just how this market is right now. And if you're not willing or able, or you don't feel comfortable with waiving the appraisal, it may just not be the right market for you to buy in, because the majority of homes that we're seeing that are accepted do have some sort of appraisal waiver. So on the seller's end, what's the implication if you accept an offer that doesn't have an appraisal waiver? If you don't think that there's going to be an issue with the appraisal, then there's no issue. But if you're accepting an offer of a price that you know that the house isn't going to appraise for, you need to think about what the next steps are. Because if your buyer is somebody with a minimum down payment, let's say 3.5% down, and they don't have extra funds to cover an appraisal waiver, if that home doesn't appraise, you either need to accept the appraised value, assuming that there's no room for the buyer to negotiate to come up with any more money. There's no way to meet in the middle. You'd have to cancel the contract and move on to the next buyer. So make sure if you are accepting an offer that doesn't have an appraisal waiver, make sure that the comps are there to support the offer price. And if they're not, just be sure that you understand what the implications are if it doesn't appraise. And if you are accepting an offer with an appraisal waiver, make sure that you are seeing the proof of funds from the buyer. The second contingency is the inspection contingency. So 99% of the time, we would never recommend to any of our buyers to completely waive the home inspection contingency. So this means you're not doing a home inspection, and even if you did decide to do a home inspection once you're under contract, you've already waived the contingency. You have no ground to cancel the contract if any issues come up. You can accept the house as is, which means that you still have the right to do a home inspection, and if the home inspection is not satisfactory to you, you still have the option to cancel the contracts. You could also limit the inspection contingency. So we are seeing commonly that buyers put into their offer that the inspection is limited to major structural, mechanical, and environmental issues. I don't think that this is putting you at a disadvantage as a buyer. In today's market, really in any market, you shouldn't be expecting a seller to give concessions or make repairs for minor or cosmetic issues unless you're buying a new construction home. So as long as a home is structurally sound, there's no environmental issues, you should be comfortable moving forward. So on the seller's end, it's just important to understand these three things. Waiving the home inspection contingency completely would be the best option for you as the seller. As is means that the buyer still is going to do a home inspection and can still cancel. And then lastly, if they're limiting things, I think that that's fine too, because if there was a major issue that came up with the house, you'd have to expect that you're going to have to fix a major issue if it was this buyer or any buyer. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, you could either leave me a message or my email address is steph.geist@gmail.com.